and welcome to Podround, the podcast review show that curates the very best podcasts across every genre so you don't have to spend hours searching for what actually is worth listening to. From true crime to politics, from media analysis to the royal family, which we've covered in previous episodes, Podround is here to break down what different shows are saying, how they're saying it, and whether they're worth listening to. So this one is about the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni trial. This has 4 very different podcast perspectives. So the trial is coming up on May the 18th. Now we're in that fascinating pre-trial window. Motions are being filed, jury instructions are being debated, expert witnesses are being challenged. And what's particularly interesting is that different podcasts are covering the exact same legal development but framing it in different ways. So today, I'm walking you through 4 podcasts, each with a distinct tone, focus, and approach. So you can decide which lens you prefer as we head into the courtroom. Let's begin with the podcast that's arguably the most closely intertwined with this case's public narrative. And that's from Kjersti Flaa from Flaawsome Talk. The title of this podcast is Explosive, Blake is Trapped. Now, this one comes with history. Kjersti Flaa is a Norwegian entertainment journalist based in Los Angeles. She built her career interviewing major Hollywood celebrities and now runs her YouTube channel, Flaawsome Talk, where she combines celebrity interviews with commentary on the entertainment industry. In 2024, she went viral after reposting a 2016 interview with Blake Lively and Parker Posey. She described the experience as a nightmare, claiming she felt bullied during the exchange, particularly after congratulating Lively on her little bump. To which Blake responded, "How's your little bump?" That clip resurfaced at a pivotal moment and became widely associated with the defense narrative in the Baldoni case. The idea that negative social commentary about Blake predated and was independent of any alleged retaliation. So when Kjersti covers this trial, she isn't just a commentator, she is in some ways part of the broader cultural context. This episode jumps straight into what she calls explosive new filings, and at the heart of it is a strategic move from Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties. They've told the court that, for the purposes of trial, they are willing to assume that Blake Lively engaged in protected activity by complaining about a hostile work environment. Now, at first glance, that sounds like a concession. But Kjersti explains carefully, this is not an admission of harassment. It's a legal maneuver. What the defense appears to be doing is skipping over the argument about whether Blake complained and instead zeroing in on the real battleground. That even if she did complain, was there retaliation? This is where the episode becomes especially valuable. Kjersti walks through what's known as the same decision defense. Under employment law, if an employee engages in protected activity, like complaining about harassment, the employer can avoid liability if they can prove that they would have taken the same actions regardless of the complaint. So, if Baldoni's team can persuade jurors that hiring a crisis PR, making public statements, managing press fallout would have happened anyway, independent of her complaint, then the retaliation claim could fail entirely. And she makes a very important point. A jury could sympathize with Blake emotionally and still award 0 damages if they don't believe causation has been proven. That nuance matters. She also digs into the fight over jury instructions, which might sound procedural, but could ultimately shape how jurors interpret the case. Lively's team, according to the episode, wants a more binary framing. Either there was retaliation and she wins, or there wasn't and she loses. The defense appears to want jurors to explicitly consider that middle ground, that actions may have occurred for independent reasons. Kjersti also touches on California employment law standards, the burden of proof, and the risk of invoking the Depp-Heard comparisons. She suggests that drawing parallels to the Depp-Heard trial could backfire, especially given how public opinion shifted during that highly televised case. In terms of delivery, Kjersti is direct, analytical, and opinionated. This isn't a detached legal recap. It's got perspective. That's what makes it engaging. At under 20 minutes, it's also very snackable. It's sharp, it's focused, and it doesn't wander. And in your lineup of podcasts, I'd position this one as the legal strategy spotlight with a strong point of view. Now, if Kjersti's coverage feels pointed and strategically focused, the next podcast takes a similar legal development, but slows it down and translates it even further. Less commentary, more clarification. It's a podcast called Popcorn Planet with Andy Signore. It's titled, Did Team Justin Baldoni Just Give Up? The lawyer reacts. Andy Signore is the host of Popcorn Planet, a pop culture commentary channel known for breaking down celebrity news with guest experts. For this episode, he brings in attorney Ron Zambrano to analyse the legal developments surrounding the trial. The show's strength lies in accessibility, taking complicated legal filings and translating them into plain English for a broad audience. It starts with this focus. Did Wayfarer just admit Blake was in a hostile work environment? And the short answer was no. And that's why this episode is worth listening to. Ron explains clearly that agreeing to assume protected activity is not the same as admitting harassment occurred. Employees are protected from making complaints, even if those complaints turn later out to be unfounded. The real issue becomes causation, as we heard before. Blake's team must prove that an adverse employment action occurred. That action was taken because she complained. And Ron repeatedly emphasizes how difficult that second step can be. It's not enough that bad things happened, and it's not enough that negative press occurred. The jury must believe that complaint was the motivating factor. Then comes a deep dive into the same decision defense, which Ron explains in a very clear and practical terms. If Wayfarer can persuade the jurors that they would have hired crisis PR or responded publicly regardless of her complaint, the retaliation claim could collapse. This episode also previews looming battles over expert testimony. Blake reportedly seeks significant damages, but damages must be supported by economic experts. Ron also gets candid about something many legal analysts avoid, the jury optics. Trials aren't just legal arguments, they're presentations in front of 12 strangers. He references how mock juries are used, how deposition clips matter, how demeanour influences outcomes, and even touches on lessons from the Depp Heard trial in terms of likability. Andy, he keeps the tone conversational. He asks the questions viewers are thinking. Is this a win? Is this a concession? And Ron keeps it grounded in legal mechanics. At about 26 minutes, it sits in a real sweet spot for podcast listeners. It's substantive but accessible. And in your lineup, this is the Law Explainer episode. Strategic, balanced, and practical. So far, we've had two podcasts that focus heavily on courtroom mechanics. But not every listener wants to have a law lecture. Some want the industry angle. Some want the media narrative, which brings us to a completely different vibe. This is Billy Bush with his Hot Mics podcast. Billy Bush is a long-time American television and radio host, known for years at this American show Access Hollywood and Extra. In early 2025, after departing traditional entertainment television, he launched his own independent video podcast and radio show, Hot Mics with Billy Bush, and he launched it on TuneIn and other digital platforms, including YouTube. The show is positioned as raw, unfiltered, and video first, blending politics, sports, and celebrity culture. And Bush brings decades of Hollywood access and media experience to his commentary. Billy Bush approaches this case not as a lawyer, but as someone who understands Hollywood culture inside out. He opens with a countdown to the trial, dramatic and showman-styly, and immediately positions the trial as a cultural event. Billy focuses on the dismissal of Blake's 13 complaints, the restructuring of defendants under Wayfarer, the scale of Blake's reported damages, including lost earnings claims, the role of crisis PR figure Jed Wallace, and what truly differentiates this episode is his emphasis on optics and likability. Billy revisits behind-the-scenes film footage, analyses interpersonal dynamics, and speculates about when tensions may have occurred. He suggests that jury perception could hinge not just on statutes, but on how Blake is perceived. He openly discusses whether past interviews, including moments just like the resurfaced Kjersti Flaa clip, could affect sympathy. This is not a legal seminar. It's a Hollywood reputation analysis. The episode runs for just over an hour, so it's not snackable. It's a commute listen. But Billy brings decades of experience interviewing celebrities, and when he talks about media backlash and public image, it feels informed by lived experience. In your lineup, this is the entertainment insider lens. Less about the burden of proof and more about social dynamics. And finally, we shift gears again from strategy to law to optics, and now we move into emotional fallout. Podcast number 4 brings the daily dose of Dana from Dana Bowling. And one of my favorites is Dana. If Billy gives you a Hollywood energy, Dana gives you pop culture psychology. Dana is a former award-winning casting director. She spent 15 years in Hollywood casting for major networks like Disney, ABC, and Fox. Since then, she became a personal branding coach and a motivational speaker and the host of her Daily Dose of Dana podcast. She shares daily insights on pop culture, celebrity news, and television reviews, leveraging her background in the entertainment industry. And she notes the upcoming trial, acknowledges pre-trial motions, and references hearings on the horizon. But her central question is, what is this doing to Blake and Ryan Reynolds? Dana discusses media reports suggesting marital strain, articles claiming reduced industry interest in Blake, speculation about financial impact, and Ryan Reynolds' visible stress in recent appearances. She doesn't present this as a proven fact. She frames it as a mounting pressure. This isn't legal breakdown content. She reads headlines live, reacts in real time, and offers her perspective openly. It's narrative analysis. And she repeatedly circles back to the idea that this trial isn't happening in isolation. It's affecting brands, partnerships, and personal relationships. At under an hour, it's accessible. The Blake Baldoni portion is easy to isolate. And in your lineup, the emotional ripple effect perspective. Less about jury instructions, more about stress fractures. What's fascinating about how one legal filing can generate 4 completely different podcast experiences? I'm going to say that again. My final thoughts are that what is fascinating is how one legal filing can generate 4 completely different podcast experiences. Kjersti talks about strategic maneuvering. Andy and Ron, legal mechanics. Billy, reputation and jury optics. Dana, media narrative and personal fallout. And the truth is, as May the 18th approaches, you'll probably need all 4 lenses to understand what's really happening, because trials just aren't decided just by facts alone. They're shaped by framing, by perception, by strategy. And right now, the strategic layer is where the real story is unfolding. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. It genuinely helps Podround grow. We've previously covered podcasts dedicated to the royal family, and we'll continue branching out into multiple genres: true crime, politics, culture, and beyond. And I'd love your suggestions. What podcast should we review next? Drop it next in the comments. Until next time, keep listening smart. This has been Podround.